Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a journey into a concept that is profound, absolutely fascinating, and honestly, kind of terrifying. We're looking at a state of being known as the absolute witness. Now, this isn't just some abstract, lofty philosophy. It's a rigorous map of human consciousness itself. We're going to see exactly what happens when we look right at the very foundation of the mind.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for The Explainer. We'll start with the room with no walls, move on to the four witnesses, check out the trap of the stone, explore the moral fever, and look at attention as grace before wrapping up with the ethics of the dissolved. It's a journey taking us all the way from quantum physics to the everyday reality of just making tea for a grieving friend.
Section 1. The room with no walls.
So, let's start with a provocative question. What actually happens when the self completely dissolves? We hear all the time in spiritual literature that losing your ego is this cozy, peaceful homecoming. But the sources we're diving into today reveal a massive paradox. Spiritual dissolution isn't always warm and fuzzy. Sometimes it's something entirely different.
The source material describes this baseline state as the room with no walls. It's a state of pure awareness where the boundary between inside and outside simply vanishes. There's literally no central looker left behind. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. This isn't just some poetic metaphor. It is a literal phenomenological report of a radical expansion and a total loss of position. You become just the bare fact of awareness itself.
Which brings us to Section 2, the four witnesses.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can bring together four completely different thinkers as our compass points. We've got the Indian sage Nisargadatta Maharaj mapping pure awareness, or the I Am. We have quantum physicist Werner Heisenberg with the observer problem. We've got novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky diving into the morally feverish underground self. And finally, the philosopher Simone Weil mapping decreation and grace. On paper, these minds seem totally disconnected, right? But amazingly, they are all mapping the exact same territory of human consciousness.
Take a close look at Heisenberg for a second. He gives us this concept known as the cut. Basically, in quantum physics, Heisenberg proved that the very act of observing a system unavoidably alters that system. You literally cannot stand outside it. Observation is intervention. So, epistemologically, if you try to completely dissolve the observer to stop altering reality, you lose the ability to interact cleanly. When you apply that to human consciousness, it leaves you in a space that is totally beyond ordinary moral preference. It becomes just a pure, flat registration of what is.
And that leads us to Section 3, the trap of the stone.
This is where things get pretty dark. We encounter a chilling phenomenological state known as the stone. This is a state of total, cold indifference that emerges when the self dissolves, but without love. If you dissolve your ego simply to escape the exhausting demands of the world, the stone is what's left behind. From the inside, it feels like absolute equanimity, but from the outside, it literally cannot be distinguished from cruelty.
Dostoevsky actually hit the nail on the head with this trap. Through his character Ivan Karamazov, he writes, "It's not God I don't accept, it's the world he created." It's heavy, right? Ivan is flat out refusing to accept some transcendent peace if the purchase price is a single child suffering. He refuses to dissolve into a stone that just no longer cares about human pain.
And that is the stark, chilling truth of the absolute witness without grace. The stone watches a child cry and feels only the weight of its own isness. A crying child, a blooming flower, they are exactly equal to it. It has zero preference.
Section 4. The moral fever.
Let's move to and see how this builds for an actual person living through it. Our protagonist starts off in month 1 just resting in pure awareness. By year 1, the background hum of mattering starts to drop away in what's called the clearings. By year 3, he is fully encountering that cold, indifferent structure of the stone. But then, a massive crisis hits at year 4. He descends into what's called the moral fever before finally eventually arriving at true attention in year 5. So, what exactly is this moral fever? Well, it's this agonizing condition where you achieve the empty void of the witness, but you realize your psychological underground, your human wounds, are completely unhealed. You start getting these recursive self-eating thoughts. It's a brutal triple bind. You possess the clear seeing of the absolute. You still carry your unchanged human wounds and resentments, and you have zero tolerance for the gap between the two. You can see your flaws with absolute perfect clarity,
but that seeing doesn't actually fix them.
Which turns us towards section 5, attention as grace. In the text, our protagonist's ultimate breakthrough doesn't happen sitting on a meditation cushion. It actually happens when a grieving friend named Mara just shows up at his door. Watch the specific mechanics here. Step 1, his ego's usual management buffer is gone. Step 2, this creates that cleared-out void of the stone. But step 3 is the game changer. Because he brings love into that dissolution, he is able to receive her reality fully. He makes her tea and just listens, without any deflection whatsoever.
This is exactly what Simone Weil meant when she wrote, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." It is such a deep, reverent idea. She called this process decreation, emptying the self to make space for radical love. When you listen to someone without running your own internal narrative, when you give them a room with no walls, you are giving them grace.
And this brilliantly illustrates our two completely different outcomes of the dissolved self. On one hand, you have the stone, driven by detachment, resulting in this cold indifference where it just watches without caring. But on the other hand, you have grace, driven by love, resulting in creative attention, where you receive reality without deflection. The empty void of the stone is really just the transparent glass that grace needs to finally shine through.
Section 6, Ethics of the Dissolved.
So, the crucial point is this. The dissolution of the self changes not what is owed to the world, but the capacity to genuinely pay it. Spiritual practice isn't some escape hatch from your obligations to other people. It's about clearing out the ego so you can finally, truly see them. The dissolved person still has the exact same ethical obligations as the rest of us, but now, without that defensive ego buffer, they actually have the capacity to be completely present for another's suffering.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. It really forces us to look at the motivations behind our own search for meaning. If you follow this path, what are you bringing with you into the void? When your self dissolves, will you leave behind a cold stone? Or will you clear the window for radical love?